You spend your whole life collecting things: a car, a house, your phone. You lock your doors, guard your passwords, and assume you have absolute control over what is yours. Then, you sit down with a lawyer. You write your final will. You divide your cash, give away your property, and at the very bottom of the page, you write down what happens to your physical body. You ask to be buried under an old oak tree or scattered over the ocean. You sign the paper. You thought you were protected. You thought the law had your back. But the moment your heart stops, everything changes. An invisible, deeply disturbing system wakes up. The legal system looks at your careful instructions about your own flesh and bones. It doesn't see a binding contract. It sees a worthless piece of paper. Here is the cold reality. You do not own your dead body. In fact, nobody does. The second your consciousness fades, your physical shell drops out of the property market. You become a ghost. You become a logistical problem. A problem that gets tossed between state freezers, fighting relatives, and a multi-million-dollar shadow industry. They trade human parts like raw industrial materials. How do you lose the rights to your own flesh? Look at history. For centuries, dead bodies belonged strictly to the church. The church handled your soul. The church handled your grave. Everyday courts never dealt with corpses, so the law never learned how to treat human remains as property. They knew how to handle a stolen horse. They knew how to handle stolen coins. But a dead human being? The law was speechless. This massive blind spot crashed into reality in the 19th century. Medical schools suddenly needed thousands of fresh bodies to teach anatomy, but the state offered no legal way to get them. So, the grave robbers stepped in. They waited for a funeral to end. They dug up fresh graves in the dead of night. They dragged the bodies out and sold them to the nearest medical college. When the police finally caught them, prosecutors hit a ridiculous wall. They could send a man to prison for stealing the wooden coffin, or the brass handles, or the clothes on the corpse. Those things were property. But the body itself? They couldn't charge him for that. A dead human belongs to no one. Therefore, it cannot be stolen. This bizarre reality became permanent in an 1882 English court case, Williams versus Williams. A man wrote in his will that his body should go to a friend for cremation. His family hated the idea. They buried him in a traditional cemetery instead. The friend dug up the body, burned it, and sued the family for the cremation costs. The judge looked at centuries of history. He handed down a ruling that still controls your fate today. A dead body is not property. You cannot buy it. You cannot sell it. And most terrifying of all, you cannot dictate what happens to it. Your final funeral instructions? The law calls them precatory. That is just a polite word for a simple request. They can ignore it entirely. So if your will doesn't protect you, who is in control? The law uses a temporary, ticking time bomb. It's called a quasi-property right. The second you die, the state hands a very limited power to your executor or closest relative. This isn't ownership. It's a strict duty to get rid of your body, fast and clean. And because your written wishes mean nothing, the person holding this right has absolute power. They can ignore your environmental beliefs and pump you full of chemicals. They can cremate you against your religion, and your family cannot sue them, because there is no property to protect. But what happens when the family fights? I want him buried in the family plot. He explicitly told me he wanted to be cremated. We are not paying for a cremation. The court does not care what you are paying for. We need the body moved today. When relatives deadlock, your body goes straight to a municipal freezer. In that moment, the judge is not your spiritual guide. The judge is a logistics manager. The county morgue is not a place of rest. It is a cold, buzzing room of stainless steel drawers. It is a transition zone where your identity is erased. Freezers cost money. Space is tight. New bodies arrive daily. The court will bypass your entire life's emotional nuance. They award your body to whoever promises the fastest, cheapest disposal. But it gets colder. What if nobody claims the body at all? Thousands of people die alone every year. Others leave behind families who simply cannot afford the brutal cost of a modern funeral. $7,000 is a lot of money. If the bank account is empty, the family walks away. When they do, a silent countdown begins. A county coroner holds an unclaimed body for exactly 30 days. 30 days on a metal tray. Investigators frantically search tax records for any living relative. It is a desperate race against physical decay. The moment that 30-day clock strikes zero, your legal identity is wiped clean. You are no longer a human being. You are a public liability. Governments hate spending money on burials. To avoid the bill, counties route these unclaimed bodies straight to state-willed body programs. You get placed on a truck, driven to a medical school, dropped onto a steel table for anatomy students to dissect. The county saves cash. The university gets free training material. Your body is swallowed by the system. Not a single family member is there to see it. Yet right next to this municipal pipeline runs something far darker. A highly profitable shadow market. Welcome to the world of the commercial body broker. To understand how private companies make millions selling human remains, look at another massive legal loophole. In 1984, the government made it a severe crime to buy or sell organs for living patients. You can't sell a kidney to pay off debt. The living transplant system is strictly regulated. But that exact same law completely ignored dead human tissue used for research. It is a federal crime to sell a kidney to save a life. But chopping up a dead man's spine and selling it to a corporation? That is completely legal. Body brokers exploit poverty. They know a $7,000 funeral terrifies low-income families. So they place ads near hospitals and hospices. They offer an incredible deal. Sign your relative's body over to us for science, and we provide a free cremation. To a grieving family, it sounds like pure charity. They get handed a dense consent form. They skim the fine print like a software update. They see the word research and imagine their grandfather curing a rare disease. They sign the paper. Weeks later, they receive a small wooden box of ashes in the mail. They have no idea what actually happened. The broker takes the body to a private warehouse. Technicians in scrubs fire up medical saws. They break the body down into modular, highly profitable commodities. The head is severed. The spine is cut out. Brokers can't legally sell a body part directly, so they use a simple invoicing trick. They call it handling and transportation fees. Journalists discovered these brokers value a disassembled human body at up to $5,000. You can literally buy a human cervical spine online for $300. No medical license required. Buying a human spine feels just like buying a used camera on eBay. This system is so deeply commercialized, it shows up in bankruptcy court. When brokering firms go under, they must submit asset sheets. Look at those official documents. You will see human heads and frozen arms listed on the exact same page as office desks and computer monitors. Human beings, reduced to office supplies. Without oversight, this turns into a surreal nightmare. In 2019, federal agents raided a major body brokering facility in Arizona. The FBI didn't find a sterile, respectful lab. They found a chaotic slaughterhouse. Coolers stuffed with mixed limbs. Human remains stacked like garbage without identification tags. Because the government only tracks living organ transplants, these facilities operated in the shadows for years. They handled thousands of bodies with less oversight than a fast food drive-thru. But wait. How can a human head be a corporate asset if a dead body cannot be property? Enter the final, most disturbing loophole. The work and skill exception. In 1999, a UK artist was caught stealing body parts to use for his sculptures. His lawyers used the classic defense: you can't steal a corpse because a corpse belongs to nobody. Or the court changed the game. They ruled that if someone applies work and skill to a human body part, by freezing it or dissecting it, that flesh instantly undergoes a legal metamorphosis. It is no longer an unownable corpse. It becomes legal property. The moment the body broker makes the first cut with the saw, your body parts become their protected property. They own you. And they can sell you to whoever they want. Families who donated relatives to cure diseases have been horrified to learn the truth. One of the biggest buyers of human tissue? The military-industrial complex. When the military tests the impact of a roadside bomb, they need to know how human bone shatters under blast pressure. Plastic dummies aren't good enough. They need real flesh. Families later found out their parents' bodies were strapped into blast rigs, blown apart by military-grade explosives. The family signed the paper. The broker applied their work and skill. The system operated flawlessly. It worked exactly as designed. We live in a culture obsessed with control. We curate our profiles, we encrypt our messages, we buy insurance for a phone we will replace in 2 years. Yet, the moment your consciousness leaves, the legal system strips your ownership away. You are no longer a person. You are a biological liability. If you have money, your family can buy your way into the ground. If you don't, you become municipal infrastructure or corporate inventory. We ignore things the second they leave our sight. We assume there is a dignified process waiting for us, just like we assume our trash vanishes when the truck takes it away. But the system does not care about dignity. It cares about logistics, space, and profit. If this deep dive into the hidden systems of the dead opened your eyes, take a second to subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below and hit that like button. Next time you look at your own hands, remember something. Your ownership over them is strictly temporary. The law protects your house, your car, your data. But the second you stop looking, your body belongs to whoever grabs the paperwork first.